First, the major news from the Premier League that landed late last night. And Nottingham Forest have sacked head coach Nuno Espírito Santo.
Nottingham Forest have decided to part ways with Nuno Espírito Santo after a spell that promised stability but ultimately delivered frustration, inconsistency, and growing concerns about the direction of the club both on and off the pitch. When Nuno was first appointed, there was a sense of optimism that a manager with proven Premier League experience, a track record of building strong squads, and the composure of a tactician who had taken Wolverhampton Wanderers into Europe would be able to steady Forest and establish them once again as a solid top-flight side. But as weeks passed and results became increasingly inconsistent, that initial hope gave way to doubt, and doubt has now given way to decisive action from the club's hierarchy. The Portuguese manager's reign at the City Ground has been cut short, a move that reflects the unforgiving nature of the Premier League and the relentless pressure to produce results in a division where failure can mean financial devastation and loss of status. When Nuno arrived in December 2023, Nottingham Forest were in the midst of turmoil. The decision to part company with Steve Cooper, the man who had masterminded their return to the Premier League after a 23-year absence, was one that divided the fan base. Cooper's tenure was deeply emotional, marked by a connection with supporters and an underdog spirit that carried the team through the championship playoffs and into the top flight. Replacing such a figure was never going to be simple, and for Nuno, the challenge was not only to implement his tactical ideas but also to win over a fan base still emotionally tied to his predecessor. Early on, he managed to secure some respectable results, showcasing the disciplined, organized football for which he had become known at Wolves. His experience gave fans reason to believe he could stabilize the side and avoid the relegation scrap. However, as time went on, weaknesses became clear, and cracks that had been visible under Cooper widened rather than narrowed. Forest's biggest problem throughout Nuno's reign was consistency. One week the team would show resilience and tactical awareness, capable of frustrating a stronger opponent, but the next they would collapse under pressure against a relegation rival. Defensively, Forest looked vulnerable despite Nuno's attempts to instill compactness and structure. Conceding soft goals became a recurring theme, and even when Forest managed to get themselves in front, they often struggled to hold on to leads. The attack, meanwhile, lacked cutting edge. Despite investment in attacking players, goals dried up at crucial moments, and creativity in the final third was often absent. Matches that should have been winnable slipped away, and the points tally reflected a side that was teetering dangerously close to the drop zone. Behind the scenes, reports suggest growing tension between Nuno and the club's leadership regarding recruitment and the overall philosophy of play. Forest's ownership, having poured significant resources into transfers since promotion, wanted a manager who could mold the squad into a team that not only survived but also entertained. Nuno, by contrast, has always been a pragmatic coach, one who builds from the back, emphasizes discipline, and often prioritizes caution over flair. That clash in footballing ideologies contributed to a sense of misalignment, and the failure to bridge that gap meant pressure grew steadily with each passing week. Players, too, seemed caught between approaches, unsure whether to play expansive football or stick with Nuno's pragmatic blueprint. That confusion translated onto the pitch, where Forest frequently looked disjointed. Fans were quick to voice their frustrations, particularly as the defeats mounted and rivals around them began picking up points. The City Ground, a venue known for its passionate and loyal support, began to witness an undercurrent of dissatisfaction. Chants and discussions on match days reflected a growing impatience, and as relegation fears deepened, faith in Nuno's ability to turn things around weakened significantly. Forest's owners, who have shown little hesitation in making changes in the past, were left with little choice but to act, concluding that retaining Nuno could risk the club's Premier League status. The sacking, while abrupt, was seen by many as inevitable. Nuno departs with a legacy that is difficult to define. His time at Nottingham Forest was neither long enough to reshape the club's identity nor successful enough to win widespread admiration, yet he did bring a measure of professionalism and attempted to impose structure during a turbulent period. In truth, his tenure is likely to be remembered as a transitional phase, a chapter in which Forest sought stability but instead found themselves in limbo. For Nuno personally, the setback adds to a recent period of managerial struggles following a difficult stint at Tottenham Hotspur. His reputation as a Premier League manager remains intact to some degree, given his success at Wolves, but questions will be asked about whether his pragmatic style has been left behind by a league increasingly dominated by high-pressing, attacking philosophies. For Nottingham Forest, the decision now opens a crucial new chapter. The club must identify a replacement who can not only steer them clear of relegation danger but also align with the long-term vision of the ownership. The balance between pragmatism and entertainment is delicate, but with the amount of money invested since their return to the Premier League, Forest cannot afford another misstep. They need a manager who can unify the squad, rally the fan base, and extract the maximum from a group of players that, on paper, should be capable of securing survival. Rumors have already begun circulating regarding potential successors, with names linked ranging from experienced firefighters who specialize in avoiding relegation to younger coaches seen as progressive thinkers who could build something lasting. Whoever takes the role will inherit both a squad with potential and a fan base desperate for direction. The decision to sack Nuno also reflects the brutal realities of modern football management. In today's Premier League, time is a luxury very few managers are granted. Expectations are high, patience is low, and the financial stakes are immense. Clubs like Nottingham Forest, who have fought for decades to reclaim a place in the top flight, are acutely aware of what is at risk if they fall back into the Championship. The television revenue, commercial opportunities, and prestige that come with Premier League status are transformative, and the fear of losing it drives decision-making at boardroom level. Managers, regardless of reputation or past achievements, are judged almost exclusively on immediate results, and once momentum swings in the wrong direction, recovery becomes difficult without a change in leadership. For Forest supporters, the hope will be that this decision signals not panic but clarity. The club must learn from the mistakes of recent months and appoint a manager whose methods and personality truly fit the squad and the long-term ambitions of the club. The days of constant managerial turnover cannot be allowed to continue indefinitely, as such instability only undermines progress. Forest's owners, while ambitious, must also recognize the value of patience once they settle on their next choice. Stability, when paired with the right manager, is the foundation upon which success can be built. Whether the next appointment finally provides that stability remains to be seen, but one thing is certain, the margin for error is smaller than ever. Nuno Espírito Santo's departure is the latest twist in Nottingham Forest's turbulent Premier League journey. His time at the City Ground will be remembered as short-lived, defined by tactical rigidity, flashes of potential, and ultimately too many disappointments. It is a reminder that in football, reputation alone is not enough to guarantee success, and that even the most experienced managers can struggle when the circumstances are not aligned. For Nuno, attention will turn to his next challenge and whether he can reinvent himself in a football landscape that has changed significantly since his rise with Wolves. For Forest, the task ahead is simple but daunting: find the right leader, galvanize the squad, and ensure that the dream of Premier League survival does not slip through their fingers.